All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to talk about something that affects millions of people, type 2 diabetes. But we're not just going to talk about managing it. We're going to explore this really powerful idea that for a lot of folks, this is not a life sentence, it's something that can actually be reversed.
So let's just start with this question right here, because it really gets to the heart of everything. What if getting that diagnosis wasn't the end of the story, but actually a major turning point? Just holding on to that thought is a huge first step, you know? It changes the whole game from feeling like fate to seeing a real possibility.
Okay, so how does this whole thing even start? Well, the most important thing to get is that type 2 diabetes doesn't just show up one Tuesday morning. Nope. It's more of a silent progression, kind of creeping up on you as these subtle changes build up inside your body over years.
And at the absolute center of this whole process is something called insulin resistance. The easiest way to think about it is like this. Insulin is the key that's supposed to unlock your cells to let sugar in for fuel. But with insulin resistance, it's like the locks on your cells get all rusty and jammed. They just stop listening to the key. And so all that sugar gets stuck outside, floating around in your bloodstream where it doesn't belong.
So what causes those locks to get so rusty? Well, it's almost never just one single thing. It's usually a combination of things. You know, a diet that's heavy on the processed carbs and sugar, not getting enough movement in your day, and carrying extra fat around the middle. But it's also stuff we don't always think about, like chronic inflammation or the hormonal mess that happens when we're super stressed out or not getting enough sleep.
And this resistance, it kicks off this whole domino effect. First, your pancreas goes into overdrive, right? It starts pumping out way more insulin, trying to force those stubborn cell doors open. But it can't keep up that crazy pace forever. After years of being pushed so hard, the pancreas just gets exhausted. It's fatigued. And that's when the last domino falls. Your blood sugar goes up, and it stays up.
And this, right here, is why getting a handle on blood sugar is so critical. Because having high blood sugar all the time isn't harmless. That extra sugar is literally damaging the delicate lining of your blood vessels and your nerves all throughout your body. And that damage is what leads directly to the risk of really serious stuff, like heart disease, kidney issues, nerve pain, and even vision loss.
So that's all the science happening under the hood. But what might you actually feel? What's going on the outside? Well, our bodies are pretty smart. They do send out warning signs, and these are some of the early ones you really shouldn't ignore.
Now here's the tricky part. A lot of these signs are super easy to just brush off. You know, feeling tired all the time, having to go to the bathroom a lot, being really thirsty. You might just chalk it up to a busy week or not drinking enough water. But you got to pay attention to the other things too, like weird weight changes, blurry vision, or even cuts and scrapes that take forever to heal. And a really classic one is that tingling or numbness in your hands or feet. Seeing these things as a pattern, that's your first step to taking back control.
Which brings us to the best part of this whole explainer, the actual plan. We're going to break down a 6-part strategy for taking control. And this isn't about being miserable or following some crazy restrictive diet. It's a real, practical roadmap to help you reclaim your health. And let's just start with a number that should give you a ton of hope. You do not need to go out and lose 100 pounds to make a difference. Seriously, losing just 5 to 10% of your body weight can have a massive, drastic impact on how well your body responds to insulin again. I mean, think about that. That is such an achievable goal, and the payoff is absolutely huge. And some of the most powerful moves you can make are also the simplest. This is not about deprivation. It's about making smart swaps. Every single time you choose vegetables over white bread or a handful of berries instead of a soda, you're actively doing something amazing for your body. You're lowering that sugar load. And trust me, all those little decisions add up to something really big.
So this whole strategy, it's really built on these 6 pillars. We've hit on nutrition, movement, and weight. Those are kind of the big 3 everyone talks about. But the approach that really truly works looks at the whole picture. It means you also have to manage your stress, you have to prioritize your sleep, and you need to make sure you're getting the right nutrients. It's about treating your entire system, not just one number. That's where the real power is.
Which, of course, leads us to the ultimate question, the one we've been building up to this whole time. We've talked about controlling it and managing it, but what about actual remission? Is that even a real thing? Is it possible? And the answer is a clear, powerful yes. Yes, it is. Remission is absolutely possible, especially if it's caught early on, or even in that prediabetes stage. For so many people, just hearing that, letting that sink in, is a total game changer.
So, how does it work? Well, for a lot of people, the road to getting blood sugar back to normal doesn't actually involve a prescription. It involves consistency. Consistently making these lifestyle changes, eating better, moving your body, managing stress, that is what can bring those numbers back into a healthy range, all on their own.
But it's really important to add a dose of reality here. For someone who's had diabetes for a long time, their pancreas might have already lost some of its ability to make insulin. And in those cases, remission can still be a goal, but it means that lifelong maintenance, sticking with these healthy habits for the long haul, becomes absolutely essential for staying healthy.
So ultimately, if you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this: your lifestyle is your most powerful tool. Period. This isn't about being perfect tomorrow. It's about making one good choice, and then another one. So the final question, the most important one, it isn't for me to answer. It's for you. Looking at all this, what change will you make first?